Brett Kollmann may not be a Rams fan, but he does love the Rams. We're going to talk about it in this reaction video here. If you don't know Brett Kollmann, he's a YouTuber that does a lot of X's and O's and film breakdowns. He is a pretty big analytics guy. He's a lot of fun, really enjoy his content. He's probably one of the few YouTubers that truly blends analytics with actual eye test on the field really well. So yeah, I'm excited to react to this. I'm not going to react to the whole thing. It's about an hour and 25 minutes long. Link is in the description below. I encourage you to go watch it. If you just want to hear two guys nerd out about how awesome the Rams are for like an hour and 25 minutes and 55 seconds, go check it out.
I'm not a Rams fan. I am not emotionally invested in the Rams. I don't care if they win or lose, but I always make it a point to watch every single Rams game because this team is just fun to watch.
Yeah.
They're good TV. They're very talented. They have a fun coaching staff that I love to study.
Yeah.
Their front office is great. Their social team is great. Their media team is great. Like they put out great in-house content. It's just a fun organization to watch. And
side note, that was not always the case, but yeah, the past 2 years especially, they've just become awesome with their social media team. Love what Brett's saying here.
And in a lot of ways, I'm jealous of Rams fans that they get to root for that kind of organization that, like, from top to bottom, just seems to have its shit together. Like, even in a rebuilding year last year, they were legitimately really good and were very close to making an NFC Championship run. They have young talent that we love to talk about. They nail the draft every year when they decide to actually have draft picks. Like, it's just a cool team. Like, I'm excited for this episode.
Yeah, top down. Sean McVay is one of my favorite NFL coaches, and I don't want to say I was out on Sean McVay, I never was, but I had large questions about Sean McVay. He had a lot of early success, and I was like, all right, he knows what he's doing. Then it really felt like the league caught up, and I was like, aha, now we're going to see. Now here's the test. Is he really a good football coach, or was it just that flash in the pan that was going to have his moment and move on? And he relentlessly innovates and self-scouts, I think, as hard as anybody in the NFL. I find that a completely endearing quality as a football coach. I want to watch his team and his offenses because of that. And really the organization, I think, has kind of molded itself around that identity of he's leading and we believe we're going to follow where he's going. And so everybody's falling in line. And now they have this team that can get through seemingly unsurmountable stuff pretty quickly. After the Super Bowl, we're like, ooh, okay, so you got to pay the piper. There's, you're going to have a few lean years here. And it was like a year and a half.
I guess we'll just be mid for a little bit and then go back to being great again.
Be back to pushing the envelope again. And I love the aggression. I love a ton of their young players. I even like the writers that cover the Rams. Jordan Rodriguez, one of my favorite NFL writers, focuses on this team, tells great stories. Yeah, they're a fun follow.
If I didn't mention, Brett Kollmann's co-host here is EJ Snyder. Not super familiar with his work, but he is the senior draft analyst at the Windy City Gridiron. But I love what these two are saying about the Rams. They're two huge football fans. They're football junkies. They're not necessarily Rams fans, but they're fans of what the Rams are doing. And that's always encouraging to hear because the Rams really don't get that much love. They're not a team with a lot of drama off the field. They have great players. As they mentioned, their social media team does a lot of really cool things. Jordan Rodriguez, a fantastic Rams beat reporter. And even Stu Jackson, the team's reporter, is really good. I love being a Rams fan, and I say this to a lot of other Rams fans I'm in a couple of group chats with, that Ram fans are really spoiled. We're a team that they're just a fun team to follow. They have an owner that's pretty hands off, but has a lot of money and is willing to just write those paychecks to get it done, and pay for his own stadium without state funding and things like that. And it's an exciting team to be part of. They're fun to root for. It's hard to root against Sean McVay or Matthew Stafford because they're just likable guys. Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, Steve Avila, they draft a lot of people that you cheer for in their regular life, and it's hard to not cheer for them on the gridiron as well.
As far as how they were able to, get the most out of their youth so quickly from a schematic perspective. This is where I kind of want to give Sean McVay his flowers, because the evolution that we alluded to, early in the show about how, McVay kind of got punched in the mouth a little bit for a couple of years there after that first Super Bowl run. And people kind of figured him out a little bit. It was like, oh, okay, yeah, it's going to be a lot of wide zone, a lot of jet motion. Vic Fangio kind of pantsed him in 2018, and then Belichick did the same thing in the Super Bowl. And they kind of forced him to evolve and forced him to figure out new ways to run the ball. He's always going to want to run the ball, but like they forced him to change, or rather to adapt to the fronts that people were giving him that were stopping everything that he originally was doing in LA, like all the wide zone stuff. And you really saw the ultimate culmination of that switch last year, to the point where they ran man blocking concepts, i.e. duo, 42% of the time. This is not an outside zone team. For reference, that's as much as Miami runs outside zone under Mike McDaniel. Like, that's basically the equivalent number. That's insane. Like, that is first place in duo across the NFL by 10%. Nobody else comes close. Because Sean McVay realized, again, after that couple year stint where they just weren't getting anything on the ground. And yes, there were some offensive line issues. There were some injury issues. Todd's knee was
not great.
Swiss cheese at that point. Like, I get it. There were other contributing factors, but from a schematic perspective, people were doing to him, basically the same blueprint that Fangio and Belichick did to him. He's like, I gotta fix this. Right. So he's slowly but surely morphed his offense, first kind of leaning into a lot of inside zone. Now he's leaning into a lot of man. He's morphed his offense from an east-west run game, if you want to call it, kind of trying to find the sidelines, stretching things laterally, lots of wide zone, into a straight north-south run game. We are coming downhill. We are not in shotgun. We are under center, which is interesting because they're still 94% 11 personnel. Like, they run 11 literally more than anybody else runs anything. They're the only team that has a personnel grouping over 90% because they just stay in 11 all day. But because of who their receivers are, whether it's Puka Nacua or Cooper Kupp, who can both be fullbacks at the drop of a hat because they're tough and know how to block, like, they're still able to get under center at an extremely high rate and run these like two-back run concepts out of 11 personnel because they have a bunch of receivers that double as fullbacks. They have tight ends that block. They have running backs that are just extremely tough downhill runners. So, again, the evolution of McVay and how he's kind of adapted his system over the years, combined with, how he drafts young players specifically for this system so that they fit like a glove and hit the ground running. Like, that is why he's able to get the most out of these guys when they're brand new. Like, they are rookies. And he's getting the most out of them because he drafts them like purpose built for this offense. He knows what he wants them to do. He's like, this is your role. You play this role. We'll expand as we go. And that's why they work. That's why they're good immediately. That's why their rebuild has worked immediately, because everything from the front office to how McVay structures the offense, to how he calls the offense, to how he uses these guys, it's all this big symbiotic relationship that just works.
The handshake between him.
So that's some very valuable perspective on the Rams, on Sean McVay, on the front office, on the coaching staff as a whole, and as to honestly how the Rams built their team. I love hearing that perspective of, okay, the Rams are like always in 11-man personnel, and if you watch Rams games, you know it. And really the only variance is if Stafford is under center or not. Or if he is lined up in the gun, which happens quite often. And yeah, it's been cool to see because again, if you're a Rams fan like me, that you've watched pretty much every Rams game for the past 10 years or whatever, it's been cool to see Sean McVay elevate his play calling, redesign his offense. Some of the stuff he tried didn't necessarily work, especially like if you go back to like that 2019 season, and they mentioned it. Todd Gurley was he just injury derailed his career, unfortunately, the knee injury. And, they had to change it. And even, I think, moving Steve Avila to center this year, signing Jonah Jackson, and as we've been talking about all offseason, and they mentioned it in a different part of this episode, the Rams O-line just getting beefier, right? And I think that comes down to this, we're going to punch you in the mouth. We're gonna run it up the gut in your face. And it's going to be exciting to see. I really think this is one of the most talented offenses that Sean McVay has had since coaching the Rams. Brett just does a great job just talking about the history of McVay's scheme and how he, as a coach, has done that self-critique. He's acknowledged his shortcomings, and when he gets exposed by rival defensive-minded coaches. And yeah, excited to see where this goes. So thanks so much for watching. If you stayed tuned to the whole video, go check out the Bootleg Football Podcast, link in the description below to their full hour and 25-minute episode. It's a fantastic one if you're a Rams fan, just listening to two football junkies nerd out about your favorite team. It's going to be great. Check out my video here. If you want to join my Pick'em League, you can win an NFL jersey of your choice. And yeah, as always, go Rams, horns up, and peace out. Let's go Rams. Woo!